Good morning, Kim Anderson.
I just came from a really long road trip, so if you want to talk about what's in the car or somewhere, what is the name of that song?
Somewhere in the car.
Somewhere in the car. We could talk about that, but let's not.
No, they come up with some interesting songs, don't they?
Well, you know, there's always the love stuff in a song, but the funky ones tend to get a lot of attention, which is cool.
Yeah. Where was your long road trip?
You know, my daughter and her family are moving back. They've lived for 12 years in New York City, and they decided to move back to Minnesota to be closer to family, which is fabulous. So we flew out there and drove back with a couple of moving vans and 3 little kids in the van, and great fun.
I bet it was.
Yeah, we had a lot of. It was quite an adventure, actually, to be honest. From one crazy thing to the next, including flat tires and hospitalizations and all kinds of things. But everybody's safe and back. And in case the rumor mills are starting, there's 2 big moving vans in my driveway. Jim and I are not moving, but our daughter and her family's things are waiting for them to have access to their new home.
Which is going to be here?
In Chaska.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Close by, right.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to touch on a few topics today. Since I saw you last, I think the last time I saw you was at the Tilt-A-Whirl
Yes.
event. What did you think of that?
That was wonderful. The community came out in great numbers, and it was a gorgeous day, kicking off a wonderful weekend for Faribault. So yeah, it was a really nice event. A lot of thanks and kudos to the folks that got that going, and it's really fun. It's a nice icon for the community.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to have their pictures taken with the American Restoration Stars.
Yeah, some celebrities in town. That's always fun. Absolutely. Really a nice event.
So gracious.
They were very, very nice. And I know like Tammy Schluter, who went out there and was, got to be part of that filming, spoke so highly of how gracious they were and how authentic they were, not like, just doing it for the sake of the show and becoming somebody else after the tape was not running. Really good people. So that was really fun. People enjoyed visiting with them.
Yeah, well, it was a good time, and I've ventured over by there since then, and I almost always see somebody with a camera.
That's good, yeah. And it kicked off a nice weekend of Heritage Days events. Sounds like it was a great weekend for all the events and activities that took place on that fun Faribault celebration.
And before we jump into some other chamber events, also a city council meeting, a couple city council meetings ago, you're part of the Rotary.
Yes.
Donated that check for the clock downtown restoration.
Right. I'm awesome. Very excited about that clock being completed and having finally that looking as it should. It went through a couple of iterations where it was not well done, and so it'll be beautiful again, back to the original look of the stained glass. There'll be some protection on it against vandalism, and there will be the iron work that holds it all together is being redone as well. So that is a real nice additional thing to add to the community that we can be proud of. That's been in disrepair for quite a long time.
Well, it's historic downtown Faribault, and I don't know, how old is that clock? Do you know?
Oh gosh, I don't even know that. We probably should have that answer, but we knew that it was in need of repair, and I think folks probably know the story, but it bears repeating that Al Burkhartsmeyer, who was such a tremendous asset to downtown for decades, really an ambassador for business downtown, did a lot of the work that is now being done by the Main Street organization, just in terms of recruiting business and helping entrepreneurs get up and going. But he was also a very dedicated Rotarian, 55 years of...
Yeah,
right. And that doesn't mean that he was always in Faribault. He would go to a Rotary meeting anywhere in the world that he traveled, no matter what. He never missed a weekly meeting, so that was pretty amazing. But he loved downtown Faribault, and toward the end of his life, he asked the Rotary Club to take on that project, and we were happy to do that.
Kim Anderson is the president of the Faribault Area Chamber of Commerce. She's
How about that?
In the studio today, and she's with us. The Chamber Area, how long has that been again, Kim? It's been a long time.
The Chamber of Commerce since 1902. The Chamber of Commerce has been has been open in Faribault since 1902.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a tremendous organization with a tremendous legacy. It's so fun to look back at some of the documents, and there isn't a lot of history that's been retained by over the years. But man, if I can, maybe this is a retirement project I should think about for myself in the future, is to try to put together some sort of project about the history, because there's some great stories involved in the work that chamber members have done over the decades in Faribault. And it's interesting to me how the work is the same. It's the same. In 1902, they talked about entrepreneurship and economic development. They talked about tourism. They talked about, how to get business people to buy local. I mean, the messages were the same. The era was different. The way things got done was different. Obviously, the people involved are different people. But it's the same work, decade after decade. And it's really fun to read the things from the 50s and the 60s. And when the economy was booming, the things they talked about and how they got involved in helping manufacturing get going in Faribault, and increasing the healthcare availability. So as an organization, building business in the community is really what the chamber's all about, and they've been doing it for a long time, well over 100 years.
You got a nice recipe here in Faribault too, in terms of manufacturing and service businesses, I think.
We do. We've got a nice mix, and that helps us stabilize during tough economies. This recent situation with the avian flu certainly brings concern to a community about the economic impact of something like that. We talked about the fact that the EDA had, the city through the EDA had commissioned a report from the University of Minnesota, a great resource, by the way. We'll talk more about the University of Minnesota, but there is an economic impact, of course, when there's layoffs, but because we have such a diverse economy here, with manufacturing, with service industry, with the stable jobs like education and prison and those kinds of things, we can fare better than some in a tough economy.
Yeah, there are some communities that are almost totally dependent on
like
turkey
one
processing
employer
or something.
Yeah, like if there's one major employer and there's a downturn in their business or some major change in their reality, merger or whatever, it can really hurt a community. And because of the diversity here and the many medium and small sized businesses that make up, like you said, the mix of what Faribault has to offer, it really is good. Now, some people might look at it and say, but we don't have the one big, that's true, we don't. But we have so many different, such fascinating, that would be an interesting show. I'm not prepared to do that today, but some of the things that are made here, oh my goodness, we could do a whole month of shows on the amazing products made for industries all over the world that are made here in Faribault. And
you saw that in the Heritage Days parade.
Yes.
I don't know if you watched
yes,
that.
That was a great asset. And we spend quite a bit of time actually we focus on this in October at the Chamber for Manufacturing Month, to talk about the kinds of things that are made here. Some by smaller companies, some by larger companies. But let's do that. Let's make sure that we follow up on that and have a show or two later in the year about what's already here. One of the things the Chamber always tries to do is provide resources for our members. And so our members are largely businesses. We do have a handful of perhaps retired business people, or people that are not eligible to join through their business, perhaps for one reason or another, individual memberships. But most of our membership effort and membership roster are businesses, and we have about 485 members right now, and that's a pretty good penetration. I meant to bring our annual report, and
Sure.
it didn't end up in my file, but it's a pretty good penetration of the number of businesses in our zip code. So we like to look at our zip code rather than just the city limits to consider who would be interested in membership. And frankly, not everybody is. I mean, we understand that. But those that are interested can find quite quite a menu of business resources that are become available to them. And like our strong history indicates that we talked about earlier, Gordy, we know that the work that we do and the resources that we provide benefit people that are not members, and we're happy about that. There's no question about the fact that we're here to serve all business and help all businesses grow. We have to be careful that our mission stays focused on business, because a lot of people think of the chamber as kind of, well, we'll ask the chamber for help with that, or let's go to the chamber. And that's great. We're happy to have that reputation that people trust us and come to us for information. But our work, our real work by our staff and our board and our committees has to be about serving our businesses. And many of our business members receive those additional benefits and resources, but we know that everything that we do benefits the entire business community. So some of the things that we do are to provide information. And a couple of things that we're working on right now are to update our market area profile and our retail trade analysis. Those studies are done by the University of Minnesota Extension Office, and it's a great resource to be able to go to for, I'll say, very reasonably priced, detailed research about the community. And we haven't done a market profile since 2011, and we haven't updated the retail market analysis since 2012. So we're going to redo both of those this summer, and so by fall we'll have new information to help businesses take a look. What is the market like here? What is the potential for business here? If I wanted to grow my business in Faribault, what product and services might be missing here that a business could take on as an added product or service that could be, they call it, a gap. What are the gaps of what is available here? So we think those tools that we provide, that the Chamber funds, are very valuable resources for all kinds of businesses. It also helps to develop a profile about Faribault that can be used to recruit new businesses. And we work with City Hall and the Community Development Office, now Deanna Kennan, and we're working with her right now on a project to update all the community profile information that is available on the Chamber website and the City website, so that it's the same and it's clear and it's not too, it's real, authentic, good, current information. At the same time, it's also the message we want to share about our community. It's kind of the sales job, right? So it's a little bit about the assets that we have that we can share for potential businesses to look at and consider Faribault.
So maybe in a bullet point form, for example.
Yeah.
It's easy, you can just look at it one single shot as opposed to a paragraph or something.
It's so interesting, and I've been around a while, and my tenure at the Chamber is 16 some years. So even in those early first years that I was working at the Chamber, it was so important to have a packet in your hands that you could hand to people that were looking for information. They couldn't find that information easily in a lot of other places. That's just not true anymore. Everything is available online. So we know that we have to put everything online. It has to be clear.
It's not always accurate online.
We have to be the accurate, authentic, reliable resource for information about Faribault through not only the Chamber's website, but also the City's website. I know the City's going through an update of their information too, but we really feel strongly that the message about Faribault has to be a unified message that we share and work on together. So the City, the EDA, the Chamber, the Industrial Corp, other organizations that work on business recruitment or business assistance will all be benefiting from these projects of updating the data and then developing a profile that can easily be accessed not only by recruits but also by the possible local people that are looking to expand their business increase their sales by doing something new in their companies.
Think this will be done by the fall, or do you have a deadline? Or
I don't actually know exactly when we're on the docket for the work to be complete, but you know how data is. So we know that they will both be dated 2014. They will use 2014 information, and we're just going to be happy to have that available, and the full documents will be available for people to download if they're interested. You know, you're talking about a retail trade analysis of maybe 60 pages, and it talks about all kinds of things. It talks about the kinds of products and services that are available here, and then it also talks about what people have to leave town to find. And so there's where the opportunity lies. If a company sees, or I'll just use a retail organization, let's say they see that people have to leave the town to find a certain product or service, well, there's an opportunity for them. And then there's also a part of it where we see that we get our unfair share, more than our expected share of business in certain categories, and that's where we see that we have a pull factor that comes into town based on having tremendous opportunities for people to find a product and service here. So we use a zip code for that, and it covers everything from, you know, everything you can imagine, from vehicles to furniture and electronics and gas stations, clothing, leisure, amusement, recreation, restaurants, of course, repair, personal services, you know, you name it. It also then gives us a comparison to how we stand in the state based on similar sized communities. You know, are we keeping up with what other communities are doing? Where do we excel, and what are the areas that we could work on for improvement? So the retail trade analysis is a good tool to measure the economic health of the retail community. Now, it doesn't have anything at all to do with service or manufacturing, or, you know, any of the other segments of the economy. So it really focuses on retail, and we want to make sure retailers, as well as potential retailers that might be interested in coming here, would have access to that information.
So if you wanted to do a study of manufacturing, that would be a separate study.
It would, and that is also available. A couple of years ago, working with the county and the city economic development organizations, we helped to put on a program, I think it was called Futures, also through the University of Minnesota Extension Office, and it was a really new program, and actually we just talked about it a week or so ago about bringing it back here. In that study, and I believe the city EDA is going to take that study on this summer too, but in that study what you see is, given our current manufacturing mix, what else would benefit from coming here? So let's just say one perfect example is, we had several manufacturers a few years ago say, we have to ship everything out for painting, for powder coating. We have to either ship to here or to there. It adds cost to our product. We think there's enough business for someone to start here in town that would, you know, be able to really be successful here. So when we heard that news from several different businesses, we saw that opportunity and started recruiting that kind of company. And that's the kind of thing you find in the manufacturing study, is what are the ancillary businesses that are needed by our current businesses that could be recruited to come here with some certainty of being successful, because they would automatically have customers right here in the community. And that holds true with a lot of different kinds of businesses. We ask that question every time we visit a company. You know, what kind of company would save you money if you could have a new business locate in town that would help you? It might be engineering, it might be architecture, it might be painting and powder coating. There's a lot of different ideas. Same is true in the retail side. You know, what are we missing in our retail mix? that would help the other businesses. Not, you know, it would be successful itself, but it would also bring in, you know, to help others. So from the Chamber's point of view, I guess what I'm trying to get at is our main concern, our primary concern is always to help provide resources and assistance to the existing businesses in our community.
Were you successful in getting a painter?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. A couple different companies made that move to, you know, to be closer and provide that help. So yeah. So then the message is about helping the existing businesses, and then those resources, of course, help that entrepreneur that's out there, maybe in their garage, you know, maybe doing something in their basement and wondering when the time might be right to put that out in a wider market, you know, get a facility, increase, you know, make that brave step of hiring some people to grow the business. And those are big decisions, and we know that, I don't have the statistic on the top of my head, but we know that most business comes that way. It comes organically from the community, entrepreneurs within the community that take their idea and turn it into a small company that grows and prospers in the community. A lot of time and interest is spent on the idea of recruiting from outside, or the big company that would come here. We spend a lot of time talking about that. But the true structure of our economy is the small businesses that grow bit by bit, a few employees at a time, and suddenly over years and years of work, you see that here they are. They're a big company that has developed right here organically from our own. Some of those companies get some help, and some of the helpful resources are available through the Chamber. Of course, the city has help for businesses too. Their help often comes in the form of grants and loans, mostly loans, that are available for business startup. The Initiative Foundation is a tremendous resource for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Through the Chamber, we've got several things. We've got the research that we talked about earlier. That helps to develop a strong business plan, that you know the kind of people that are living here, you know the average income, you know the median household income, you know the education level, you know the pull factors and the factors of what's leaving town, so you know enough to have strong decisions. And then you maybe need some help. So we have help in two different ways. We have a small business development center, and that provides free confidential counseling to anybody that's interested in business, primarily focused on the existing business community. Maybe it's a small business that's looking at diversifying a product line, or looking at adding an employee, or trying to figure out if their balance sheet warrants increasing the number of square footage that their business uses. There's a lot of those decisions, and our Small Business Development Center counselors can help analyze the information and help the client make good, strong decisions. They can also help in loan packaging. So if somebody is looking at increasing their space, for example, and they know they're going to need to take out a loan, our SBDC counselors can provide, really save somebody a lot of money by providing them with the loan packaging assistance that normally would cost anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000.
And it's free.
And it's free. And it's completely confidential. And those counselors have access to a lot of help. So if they don't have all the information on their own, they can access resources through other Small Business Development Center organizations. So that's available on our website. People can register to receive the free counseling just by a few clicks on the Chamber website, or of course by calling our office number and asking for the information. Another resource that we have too is SCORE, and SCORE is a great one-on-one, also free, really kind of a camaraderie type of connection with people who would meet with someone to look at maybe a business plan, like I'm thinking about starting this business, let's take a look at all the details. And we have a couple of local SCORE counselors that are available to help with that entrepreneurial spirit.
Fantastic. We were wondering.
We're almost out of time, Gordy, and I'm really sad about that because I have so many more things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I guess it's good I can come back next month.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we look forward to that too.